Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today I'm filming a video that I've wanted to do for such a long time. At the end of August, I think, I went to the dollar store and I picked up 5 books. So I'll show that clip right here. Okay, so our selection looks really limited. Because I want to get novels. This is $13. Are you kidding me right now?
Wait, you wanted to get novels?
Yeah, like actual books to read and to review.
I thought you meant children's books.
No!
I literally thought it was children's books.
No, like actual novels. Why are they so expensive? Okay, this is $3. We're getting this one then. What the heck?
I fully thought you were trying to get children's books.
Why would I do
What? We should just go to Value Village then.
No, the dollar store. That was the dollar store themed thing. Okay, the rhythm section. Oh my god, wait, it's a thriller. I like thrillers. The Book of Speculation. Sure, okay, what else? Killing Eve. How many should I get? Like 4?
Sure. I've heard of that book before, Killing Eve.
Yeah, so have I actually. This is a movie with Milo Ventimiglia. That's him. Isn't he beautiful?
Oh, I know him, yeah.
The Hellfire Club. I'm like not even reading the back at all. Okay, I'm not gonna buy this one because it's a movie. This looks like a good collection. They're all $3.
Really?
Yeah, look. Whoa.
Whoa.
3.
That's so good. I didn't realize they had chapter books.
Yeah. Wow, okay. I got the books. So, I got 5. Hopefully I can read them. I don't know, we'll see, but yay. Now it is the beginning of November, and I'm finally filming this video. I think I finished these books a month ago, but I've just been so busy with school and placement and everything like that, so I haven't actually gotten the chance to like sit down and talk about all the books that I read. But this is kind of just an idea I came up with because I was like, why does the dollar store sell books? Like, why are there actual novels at the dollar store? Like, are they bad? I was really curious, and so I went and bought 5. Honestly, it's a steal because like the dollar store, I mean, these books were each $3, as you can see. So, you know, 5 times 3 is 15. But still, like, I got 5 books for $15. And that's the price of 1 book if you're lucky. So, anyway, before I talk about all that stuff, let's talk about the books I read. So the book I read first was Looker by Laura Sims. Sorry about the lighting. The sun's like really shining through my window right now. But yeah, Looker by Laura Sims, and it's really short. I brought this camping with me, so it's kind of like, it got kind of destroyed in the rain a little bit because our tent leaked. But anyway, I read this in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days, and because I was camping. But honestly, it was a really good start to this experiment because I really liked it. I think I ended up only rating it 3 stars. Because like it's advertised as a psychological thriller, I believe, but like I don't know, there wasn't just much depth to it. I wouldn't really call it a thriller. It's more like a character study on the girl. I don't even remember what her name is. I don't actually I don't think you ever find out what her name is. But yeah, it's just about her and how she's slowly losing her mind. She's obsessed with the person that lives like across the street or next door or whatever, who's an actress, and she's just like obsessed with her. And this is the story of just how obsessed she becomes. And I mean, yeah, again, I liked it. Like, it's a really easy read. It never really gets boring, but there's just not that much to it, if that makes sense. And I was really curious what other people thought, and so I looked it up on Goodreads. I actually looked up like all these books on Goodreads because part of my theory was maybe they're just not good books and that's why they end up at the dollar store. But on average, these are all rated 3.5, and like some of them are even close to 4 stars. So I was like, that's probably not why then. Like, it's not like they're 1 or 2 star books. Like, they're decent. So anyway, this book, I liked it for sure, and honestly for $3, like, I am not upset at all. Again, I read it so fast. It was really interesting. I liked it. It just wasn't like mind-blowing or shocking in any way, so that's why I will only rate it a 3. But yeah, I was really happy with my first Dollarama book. Then the next book from the dollar store that I read is Not Our Kind by Kitty Zeldis, and let me tell you, this is one of my new favorite books. I don't know what it is because not that much happens, but it's a very character driven book, and also look at how pretty it is. But yeah, it's a really character driven book, and I tend to like that as opposed to like plot driven or like, you know, really action packed books. I don't love that. I like it when you just get to know the characters and how they develop, how they change, how they grow, stuff like that. And this is a book that follows a young Jewish lady post World War II. It takes place in New York, I believe, which also, side note, like, I am obsessed with New York. I've never been there. I've never been to the US, but like as soon as I can go, I'm gonna go. Like, I just want to go to New York so badly. I am so like, I just feel nostalgic for New York, even though I've never been there. I feel like a longing to go there. I don't know what it is, but any story that takes place in New York, like, already, like, I like it. But anyway, yeah, so Jewish girl, Jewish lady, she gets, like, her taxi hits another taxi, or is hit by, I think, another taxi, and then so she gets out, this woman in the other taxi gets out, and she feels bad, she feels like it's her fault, and I think like the girl ended up like hitting her mouth, so she's bleeding, so the lady's like, please come to my house and like at least like, you know, freshen up here. And then she meets the woman's daughter, who is like young, I think she's middle school aged, and she had polio, and she's being homeschooled, but then her homeschool teacher like stops coming because she kind of terrorizes him, and this lady happens to be a teacher, and the girl takes a liking to her, so she ends up being her teacher at home. And it's just a story about, you know, her relationship with the daughter, and it is told from her perspective, but it's also told from the other lady's perspective, whose name is Patricia. So it kind of goes between Eleanor, who's the teacher girl, and Patricia, back and forth, telling their stories. You get to know about Eleanor and her mom and like her life and experiences, and then also Patricia, who's struggling with her marriage and everything like that. And then it kind of intertwines because, you know, they're together, she's her teacher. And then there's also like romance. It's just nothing like super intense or super unbelievable happens, but I like it so I loved it. I couldn't put it down, and to be honest, this book put me into a reading slump because when I was done, I didn't want to read anything else. I just was stuck in this world for like a week afterwards. In my notebook it says 4.5 stars, but honestly, like, I would say 5 stars because like no book really that I remember had me thinking about it like weeks after I read it, but like this had me thinking about it weeks after I read it, and like it was so much more difficult to start another book because I just wanted to read this one again. So 5 stars, super good. It took me like 3 days to read it. It's like, you know, but I highly recommend this book if you really like just like any stories to do with kids or any stories to do with people just like figuring out their lives, or any stories that take place in New York. I don't know. So next, I read The Rhythm Section by Mark Bernell, probably. Oh gosh, like I said, after Not Our Kind, I was just like, I really just want to stay in this world forever. But I persevered because of this video, and it took me like a month and a half to read all these books anyway because I was so busy. But it took me like 3 weeks to get through this book. It was painful. It was painful. I don't know if it's purely because of my reading slump, but because like objectively I don't think this is a bad book. It's about a girl, Stephanie, whose family gets killed in like a plane crash, but then she finds out a couple years later, whatever, that it was a terrorist attack, and so now she wants to seek revenge. And then she's like kidnapped, recruited by this organization, it's not a company, this organization that's like you know, you gotta like leave this guy alone, or like he's part of a bigger plan or whatever. And she's like, no, I want to kill him, I want to seek revenge because he killed my family. So then they're like, okay, then just become a spy for us and you can get your revenge eventually. Like, I promise you'll be able to be the one that kills him. Just like work for us, work with us, and then, you know, whatever. I think the problem is I don't like action, and since this is like a spy story, there's like a lot of like I wouldn't say a lot of fighting scenes, but there's like, you know, some fighting scenes. I like detective stories, I like true crime, like I like stuff that happens after the fact, but this is very much during it, where she's a spy, she's trying to find all these people. And also there's so many people in this book, like you lose track of who's who, and some of them reappear like 100 pages later and you're like, I don't know who this is. So then you have to like kind of go back or just contextually try to guess who it was. And I don't know if it's because it took me 3 weeks so I just forgot everything, but it was just not for me. I would rate it like 2.5, 3 stars. If you're into this kind of thing, I think it's decent. And like there were moments where I really did like it and I kept reading, but it was never a book I wanted to pick up and read. Like I only kept reading it because I felt like I had to. I don't know, man, though, like it just took forever. And it's not even long, like it's not even long at all. The next book I read was The Rainwatcher by Tatiana Derozny. I'm so bad at last names. This is a novel that took place in Paris, which, side note, kind of gave me like an existential crisis because it made me want to move back to France. And like just like, anyway, it was this whole thing. I changed my life plan for like a week, but I'm good now. But anyway, yeah, so it takes place in Paris. It's about this man, I forget, oh, his name is Lyndon, who goes to Paris with his family, his parents and his sister, because they're all grown up and they don't really spend much time together anymore. I think his sister lives in England, so his mom, for their like 50th wedding anniversary, I think, she's like, let's just all go to Paris, let's all spend time together. And so they do. At the same time, like Paris, it's like just raining nonstop, constantly. The rivers are overflowing, everything's starting to like get like go underwater, I guess. Like the water levels are rising, and oh my goodness, this book talked so much about rain and so much about water and so much about flooding. So if that's something that freaks you out, avoid this, because that's literally the premise of the whole entire book, is there's a family in Paris and Paris is drowning. Oh, and another thing, like it goes so much into photography, because Lyndon is a photographer, so she talks so much about photography. And then Lyndon's father is like an arborist or something, or he saves trees and like preserves them or whatever. So there's so much talk about trees too. Like I feel like this lady is just like super into trees, water, and photography, because that's all she writes about in this book. So that's like a little side note that was like a little bizarre. But anyway, yeah, they're in Paris, and then, you know, something tragic happens and they're kind of forced to stay there. And it's just a lot about Lyndon and, you know, his life with his family. Honestly, like there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like I really did enjoy it. It was just like so much about the rain, so much about the water, so much about trees, and it was just like, I think I only really liked it because it takes place in France and I'm very biased. And that's another thing, actually. There's a lot of French words that she just randomly throws in there, assuming you'll understand what they mean. And like before every single chapter, there's a quote in French. So like, does this lady think that everybody just speaks French? Like, I'm not really sure. But yeah, and then the one thing that really annoyed me is there's basically zero dialogue. Like, zero. And also the pages are like this. Like every single page. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's like basically no paragraphs. She just writes. So it was kind of hard to get through, and yeah, there's zero dialogue. She'll say something like, his sister's voice jolts him back to the present moment. Lyndon says candy and regrets it when his mom's eyes tear up. It's just like she'll describe what they're saying. She'll describe how the conversation goes without actually putting in dialogue. Like there's only a couple things, like a couple places, like, well, old fellow, what'll it be? And then it keeps going, like he makes a gesture towards the bartenders. Like, so scarce. The dialogue is like barely existent, which I love dialogue, so that was something that was really hard to get over too. Like just the paragraphs upon paragraphs with zero dialogue. But yeah, again, I'm really biased. I love France, I love French, and so, you know, that's why I kept reading, and I think that's why I found it more enjoyable than maybe the typical reader would, because I just have such a huge bias. But in general, like, it was a really nice story about a family that had to come together and get through a tragic event. And yeah, I mean, I would rate it a 3 out of 5. Like, nothing super special, nothing super bad. It was just like very okay, you know, very okay. And the last book, Because You're Mine, by Raya Frey. This book, I think I finished it in like 2 days, and it's thick. It's like, what, 300 pages? I think I would give this a 4 out of 5, I think. It's about this single mother named Lee who has an autistic son. He has a tutor that comes to their home to like teach him stuff and help him with school and also like behavioral stuff. There's also her best friend Grace, and yeah, it's just like this story about how Lee has so much trauma in her past. Like, she has a crazy story, and then you also hear from the perspective of Grace, which is her best friend, who talks about you know, how she has this huge secret that she has to tell Lee, and when she tells Lee, like, her life will be forever changed, like they might not even be best friends anymore. So there's a lot of suspense around that. And then there's also the tutor's point of view, Noah, his point of view and his story and his life and his past traumas as well. And it's just like everybody in this book has had an awful life and have been just so traumatized, but it's kind of like how they're friends, and then they go on this trip. Like, Grace and Lee go on a trip with their other 2 best friends, like Alice and whatever, and something happens on the trip, and that's all I can say without spoiling the book. But it was like a roller coaster, and the end, like the final twist at the end, I was mind blown. I was like, where did this even come from? Like, how, like, there were 0 hints leading up to it, like, because this character just was lying throughout the whole entire book. Like, there's nothing that you could have really, like, guessed, you know? So it was just like, whoa, I couldn't put it down. 380 pages, I read it in 2 days. I just could not put it down. You just had to keep reading to know what the heck was going on, and the more you read, the worse it got, and the more confusing it got, and then some things got cleared up, and then other things were still left unsaid, and I was just like, I just had to keep reading it. Like, I don't know. Just a warning though, like, there are pretty heavy topics. Like, it's a dark book. It is a dark book. I know the cover is very misleading. It's a kid with an airplane, which, by the way, you'll find out what that means. Like, it is related directly to the story. But yeah, like, it looks happy and cute. Because You're Mine sounds like a cute little romantic. No. It is dark. Be warned. Overall, these 5 books that I got from the dollar store were very good. I have really no complaints. Like, that's a lot of pages, a lot of content, a lot of stories for just $15. So I'm very happy. I actually went back, I went through a phase of like going to like all the dollar stores near my house and just looking at the books. So I did buy a couple more books from the dollar store. I actually looked it up, like, why do books even end up at the dollar store? And apparently it's because they just make too many copies of a book. It's not because they're bad, it's just because not as much sold out as they thought or whatever. So I highly recommend going to your dollar store and buying some books. It's well worth it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know my explanations of books are kind of long and kind of maybe confusing. I'm not great at summarizing my thoughts, but I didn't want to like read off a script because that's just not fun. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave any comment down below. I'd love to know if you've ever bought books from the dollar store. And yes, make sure you subscribe down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!